I guess this dude believes in fucking magic. Humans grow up and get fatter by fucking magic. Today's episode of Book Review, we're going over Good Calorie, Bad Calorie by Gary Taubes. This dude, who studied physics at Harvard and aerospace engineering at Stanford. He's a journalist. These first two things will be important. So this is Good Calorie, Bad Calorie by Gary Taubes, and we're just going to go look through. And the first thing that we want to look through is the conservation of energy. Here. Let's see. What's important? Right here. But it isn't. So right here is important, right? So for 50 years, clinicians, nutritionists, researchers, and public health officials have used the logic of the starting point for virtually every discussion of obesity. Anyone who challenges this view is seen as willfully disregarding a scientific truth. Let me state, blah, 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 blah. That's just context to this. But it isn't. This faith in the law of thermodynamics is founded on two misinterpretations of the thermodynamic law and not in the law itself. So here's the thing about laws of science. They are laws because they always apply, and therefore there's only one way to interpret them, the way they happen. There's no other way. You cannot reinterpret the laws of science. They don't care about your thoughts, your feelings, or your beliefs. Or your hormones. That's going to be important later too. But the laws of science aren't a piece of salami nailed on the wall at an art museum. It's not something to interpret, to feel about. They exist. So the conservation of energy is the one he's talking here. The law of conservation of energy states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It is transformed from one form to another. Food is energy. That's why we eat it. Not to deromanticize food, but it's energy. It gives us energy. That's why we eat it. So here, this dude who studied physics and aerospace engineering is trying to say that you're interpreting the law incorrectly, and therefore it doesn't work for humans. Like, so here's a quick example. I don't know how good this example is going to be, but I'm going to lift this pen off my desk. Me lifting the pen off this desk is potential energy. That is food that hasn't been eaten yet. Right? If that's food that hasn't been eaten yet, this is the same thing. It's potential energy. Right? Now my hand is supplying constant energy to this pen, which is leaving it in the air. This is what happens when you eat enough calories to maintain your weight. You are supplying constant energy to your body. You don't need to lose weight. You're not losing weight. You're not gaining weight. It's staying constant. But if I stop supplying that energy to the pen, it falls. Just like if you stop eating, your body will use its stored energy to lose weight. So this little pen experiment, plus the little thought experiment, kind of disproves his reinterpretation of the law of thermodynamics. There's nothing else worth reading there. Because again, it's all based on a reinterpretation of the law that always exists. In the epilogue, there's a couple of things to go over. If we scroll all the way down here, as I emerge from this research, those certain conclusions seem inescapable to me based on existing knowledge. Again, this dude studied at Harvard and Stanford. This stuff, he should have did a better job with this. Dietary fat, whether saturated or not, is not the cause of obesity, heart disease, or other chronic disease of civilization. There's graphs to show the consumption of fat products. Like, I think it's canola oil was one of the first ones. When that got introduced, fats got more popular in the American diet, and so did obesity. Right? But he's saying that fat doesn't cause any disease, especially heart disease. let's look at low density lipoproteins, or LDLs, which, why is my LDL high? This is from Sydney, healthcare.sydney. Right, high fat intake, low carbohydrate diet. Marked LDL rise after switching to a keto style eating. Regular butter, coconut oil, fatty, all this stuff increases your LDL. And let's see what this research paper says about it. So right here from this comment on, it says, establishes that LDL is not merely a biomarker of increased risk, but a causal factor in the pathology of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. So, I mean, sure, this study was done in 2017 and this book was written in 2007, but we have the Lionheart study that was done in 99. That was before this book was written. So that's bunk. The problem is that carbohydrates in the diet and effect on insulin. The law of energy conservation renders this point useless. Sugar is particularly harmful because it can overload the liver with carbohydrates. No, insulin overloads the liver. No, insulin sends glucose to the liver. Like, insulin makes the food into glucose. That's what it does, and that's the function of the liver. Eating too much sugar, whether obese or not, can lead to diabetes and can be a problem, but sugar really isn't a factor in weight, especially when you consider the laws of thermodynamics, right? Like, the more you eat, the more you will gain, and the more you gain, the more weight you have. Through their dietary effect on insulin, refined carbohydrates are the dietary cause of coronary heart disease, LDL. Moving on. They are the most likely dietary causes of cancer, Alzheimer's, and other chronic diseases. Carbs cause cancer is what he's saying. Okay. Cancer Trends Progress Report, whatever. Website's up here. Red meat is associated with increased risk of colon and rectal cancer. And then evidence suggests that it's other cancers too. Not processed meats. That's a separate section. Just red meat. Red meat has a lot of fat in it. Can have a lot of fat in it. So I don't get why he's saying carbohydrates causes cancer. Except that's actually just not true. Fiber and cancer. I did not put the R there. Okay, whatever. I'm not donating. Not. Benefits of eating a high fiber diet. Decrease your risk of heart disease and stroke, helps with diabetes, decrease your risk of cancer. You know where you get fiber from? Oh look, grains, whole grains, carbohydrates, vegetables, broccoli, carrots, more carbohydrates. Fiber comes from carbohydrates, which in return reduces your risk of cancer and heart disease. So this dude is just straight up making shit up at this point. Obesity is a disorder of excess fat accumulation, not overeating. 1, how the fuck does it get there in the first place? 2, if obesity is excess fat, then the last thing you want to be doing is eating fat for obesity. Like, it's already in the form that your body can store it easily. You don't want to be eating more of it. And this doctor does write other books about like keto and stuff like that. So that's why this point is important. Consuming excess calories does not cause us to grow fatter any more than it causes children to grow taller. I guess this dude believes in fucking magic. Humans grow up and get fatter by fucking magic. Fattening and obesity are caused by imbalance of hormonal regulations. Again, the law of conservation of energy completely disproves this. Your body still has to follow the laws of the universe. And your hormones are just following those laws as they govern us. Insulin is the primary fat regulator. Yeah, no. Insulin allows carbohydrates to be used as the fuel in your body. Carbohydrates are extremely water soluble, which allows it to pass through cells much easier than fat, which is why your body wants to be using them, which is why carbs are important for you. Insulin makes it into the ability to use carbohydrates and will signal to your body to use carbohydrates before fat, but there's other factors. Testosterone causes you to be fat. It helps. Estrogen causes you to be fat too. It's not just insulin. Your hormones all work together for this. Insulin just tells your body which fuel that it needs to be using. Can be using. That's the role of insulin. By stimulating insulin secretion, carbohydrates make us fat. No, again, the law, conservation of energy, completely does not care about hormones. So this point is bunk. By driving fat accumulation, carbohydrates increase hunger and decrease the amount of energy we expend in metabolism and physical activity. So fat is weight, and weight requires more weight requires more resistance. Fat is weight, and weight is resistance, and the more resistance you have, the more energy required to move stuff. Here, let me show you an example. This is a 25-pound dumbbell, right? I can curl super easy without it. This takes considerable more energy, which you can see by my muscles having to flex a lot harder. Like, you see how there's no muscle like definition because it's not requiring that much energy, right? But look, you see much more muscle, much more strain, especially right here where my tendon is. That's because more weight is more resistance, and more resistance requires more energy. Literally just ignoring science here. And this dude studied physics. He talks about, in conclusion, about fat being important to the diet or whatever. I don't need this one open. So here's the thing. The Lionheart study. The findings from the Lionheart diet. Let me just restart. The findings from the Lion Diet Heart study illustrates the potential importance of dietary patterns that emphasizes fruit, veggies, breads and cereals, and fish. So in other words, a diet with lots of carbohydrates. Plenty of carbohydrates. The study was done in '99, by the way. So let's think. Who should be listened to? The researchers who spent their lives researching about what's healthy and stuff, or some journalist who studied physics but has to reinterpret the laws of science to make his point? I'm going to go with the people who spent their lives studying what's healthy for people, and not some journalist.